Hello, sports entertainment fans, and welcome inside the We Can't Wrestle podcast Facebook group, Facebook page, and YouTube page. And it's time for another edition of That's Not
That's not
Wrestling.
wrestling.
Nate Maxon and Archie Mitchell here with you tonight. Archie,
Woo!
welcome, my friend.
Yes. Thank
to
you, sir. Thank
another
you.
edition of the show. Glad to have you. We decided we wanted to do a show this week. Like I've said before, we're not going to be doing this show every week now, which is actually making my fandom much more enjoyable lately. Because
It's not a job anymore.
if I don't want to watch something, I just don't watch it, which is kind of nice. But I thought this weekend was a good weekend to cover, just because there were so many big events, and actually overall
Everything happened, yeah.
overall a pretty good weekend. Like there wasn't, to me, there were down spots on a lot of these shows, but I don't think any of them really sucked.
No, I think we had like 15 hours worth of wrestling this week, and it was actually not bad for 10 of it.
Right.
So that's not horrible.
We're probably not going to discuss the Raw and SmackDown shows in and of themselves. We'll just kind of encompass WWE with SummerSlam. Because Raw and SmackDown were your standard fare. But Archie, I do want to say, and Juan Rosario is here. What's up, brother? He says SummerSlam was good, Juan? Finally. Yes, it was a good pay-per-view, and we will be covering that.
Definitely.
What do you think of Thunderdome, Archie?
I'm digging it. I think that it's adding to the experience. I like that they're in a bigger arena now, and that they've brought back pyro, and the entrances are a little more animated again, and that these guys and girls actually have somebody to play to, rather than seeing Drew McIntyre going, "Come on," to empty seats.
Right.
You know
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It gives you that big time WWE feeling again. I will say this, the only thing is I almost wish they kind of would have done, and it's not that big of a deal, but I kind of wish they would have done like the NBA, where the LED screens are higher up, just because they're very distracting sometimes.
Yes, it looks like they're fighting in front of the Matrix sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that big TV wall. My only qualm with it, and this is me just being a fan and not liking when people do crappy things on wrestling shows. Seeing fans wearing AEW shirts on the TV board, and then seeing fans put like a SpongeBob or a puppy dog, a stuffed animal, and then leaving. It's like you're taking seats away from actual fans who want to watch this and be in the arena on the TV screen. Why are you doing it just to be a smart mark? Just to make a joke and be a troll.
Yeah,
and that's coming from me.
Last night during SummerSlam, my wife goes, "How long are we going to have to see the Pikachu?" There was a Pikachu. Somebody had just placed a Pikachu doll.
Right. There was also a Mario and I think a SpongeBob somewhere in the screen. And then there was a guy who held up a sign for like 3 hours that said "Fire Velveteen Dream." I'm like, okay, I understand the guy was, charged with possibly bothering children and things, but he was acquitted because WWE wouldn't allow him to be wrestling.
Right.
Why do you feel the need to hold up that sign for 3 hours?
Yeah, and I mean, this is America, so innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And if he wasn't proven guilty, then it is what it is. That you can't prevent the guy from working. That's one thing that I was going to say about this whole the not having fans, and we don't know how long this is going to last. I know Juan just said something about waiting to see how AEW does with real fans. How long will? Okay, so if they have some real fans in the stadium, they come in, they participate, and then you have a COVID outbreak, they're going to go right back to, no more fans.
Right.
So you don't really know with this how long you're not going to have fans in the building. And to me, what that becomes is, here's the biggest problem, I think, that we as wrestling fans have to wonder about. Okay, so we're 6 months into COVID?
Yep, March.
6 months since no fans in the building, or not real fans. They've had obviously their plants, but all right. So 6 months, and all the guys that you kind of knew all the guys that are on TV right now, where they stood with the crowd. So it's been easy to book them. But the problem you get into as time goes on, at what point do you I'm trying to think how I want to word this because I thought about it last night. At what point do you know, as the WWE or AEW or anybody, whether or not an act is actually over?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like before, you could judge it by the crowd. The crowd is cheering, the crowd is booing. You really, literally have no idea now.
Honestly, I think it comes down to Vince's prerogative now.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad.
You know, and someone, it was Clayton Gorway that said, Vince McMahon finally gets to book people the way that he wants because he gets to control the piped-in cheers and boos.
Mm-hmm.
If the fans truly wanted to boo Roman Reigns last night, they could have, but with the piped-in cheers, it made it seem like he was The Rock returning after 10 years of not being on the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, which I was happy to see, which we'll get into that, but I was happy to see Roman Reigns last night.
I was too.
But they left a lot of empty questions that I don't know that they're going to be able to answer in 1 week to Payback.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We have a pay-per-view again this coming Sunday. So.
Overload.
Overload, yeah.
Did you, and we'll get into the shows here in a second, but did you see Orton's tweet about Roman?
Yes, about him being a horse with the fake teeth and all that. But then Roman's reaction to it was, hey, Randy, thanks for talking about me because it's obvious nobody's talking about you. And that was like, wow, he actually came back with a pretty good, comment. But
so I guess let's just start with SummerSlam since we've gotten into it.
Right. Good show.
I thought so. I thought that I guess we'll double this up. The Asuka Bayley and Asuka Sasha matches.
Asuka and Bayley was good, but I think Bayley should have lost because I think that having a 317-day title reign should be enough now. She's been the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion now. And I hate that they're doing that with every title reign. Oh, they're the modern champion for so many days. It's like we don't care about the numbers. Make it a quality run.
Right.
Which Bayley's had a great run. I'm not complaining. As heel Bayley, she's been great since she won the title.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Asuka needed to beat Bayley. And on the flip side, Sasha Banks has not gone into any of her title defenses and been able to come out as the champion. It's one and done for her every time.
Mm-hmm.
So
one thing I will say about that is the best thing about Bayley and Sasha, and I it's funny because I really, really enjoy Sasha bell to bell in the ring.
Yes.
Sasha annoys me as a promo. However, Bayley to me is the total package. She's been I was doubtful when she first turned heel, but she's really stepped up.
Well, she's become a Karen, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is I'm the best, and I want to speak to the manager, which she got to speak to Stephanie McMahon a couple of weeks ago, and that pissed her off. But I mean, that was still good. It added to the character. My favorite part about them is the end game because it's obvious they're going to break up.
And that's what I was going to say is one of my favorite things about them is WWE with them is actually telling a wrestling story. Long term, yes. They didn't put them together 2 weeks ago. Like, I mean, and I don't mean to hate on it because I like both guys, but that was my biggest issue with MJF and Cody.
Right.
You knew
it was coming. You knew he was going to turn on Cody eventually.
And it's like what? It's the second week of November, and all of a sudden MJF's like, MJF's been Cody's best friend for a long time. And then the third week of December, he's already turned on him. It was it was painfully obvious.
No, it was the minute they said MJF has been his best friend for a long time, and I'm like, really? Because I've only heard about Maxwell Jacob Friedman for like 2 months,
right? Since
before AEW started, and then he's like preferring MJF with him instead of his brother Dustin. Like, wait, hold on, you're taking a stranger over blood here? Come on now.
Right.
Like, we know what's about to happen here, but you're right. You can't throw two guys or two girls together and expect me to believe that they love each other. That was the good thing about Sheamus and Cesaro as a tag team. They still didn't like each other a year into teaming, but they knew they worked as a tag team and they knew they won tag titles. So, okay, we respect each other enough to be with one another.
Yes.
It's the enemy.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah.
Right. But The end. See, now I see the rift coming because Bailey kept her title, Sasha lost hers, and then they got to defend the tag title, so they might lose them at Payback.
Mm-hmm.
It added to their story perfectly that even if they stay together after Payback, there's still that rift that will come up and break them up down the line. So,
Juan comments, Sasha is too drowned out in her character. They need to rebrand her. I agree with that.
Well, she's becoming a chatterbox, but yet repeating herself with everything she says. I'm a millionaire. I'm the blueprint. I'm the boss.
I will say this. At least when she turned heel,
right.
I didn't have to hear her every single week talk about Eddie Guerrero again. It's like, good God, Sasha.
Right.
every week Eddie. She was a face. Yeah, me too. But every week her promo was, I loved Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, it's like Rey Mysterio didn't talk about Eddie that much, and he had a world title run because of Eddie Guerrero. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That was another funny thing that came out of SummerSlam. I don't know if anybody caught it. A few people did. Dominic and Seth go to the ring. Seth's attire was awesome. It was after Rey Mysterio's attire from Halloween Havoc in 96 or 97. He looks at Rey Mysterio and says, Rey, are you sure this is your kid? Rey goes, yeah, that's my son. He said, what about Uncle Eddie? But he said it real low. And I went, wow, they actually talked about the storyline. Wow. Wow, they actually went back to the storyline.
My daughter is 21, and she remembered
Dominic on a pole.
Yeah, she remembered being, because when she was a little one, her favorite wrestler was Eddie. Because I mean, I was a big fan of Eddie.
Right.
So if Eddie was on, Daddy was watching, and Daddy.
Right.
It was so funny too because she always, when she was real little, she called him Totino Heat, not Latino Heat. It was Totino Heat, like the pizza roll.
The pizza rolls.
Yeah. But she even said last night, she was walking through the room and she goes, wow, Dad, I remember when that kid was little and Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were fighting to be his dad and blah, blah, blah. I was like, some of these things resonate with people. Yep. The Street Profits and Garza and Andrade, the less said better. I don't like the Street Profits. I've made that known. I find them, I don't know.
I understand. I like them, though. At first, I didn't. When they were in NXT, they were really annoying. And it was like, wow, you guys really went stereotypical again, just like you did with Crime Time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing worse for me when someone says, I'm not a racist, but then you stereotype somebody.
Right.
Well, that's the typical move of a racist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so to make them two guys who love to drink out of red Solo cups and wear crowns, and it's like, okay, you stereotyped them. I understand. But then they got to the main roster, and I think because of the crowd getting into them, it made me get into them. But the match was actually good up until the ending. It made no sense. They went for that Miss Elizabeth, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage vibe with Andrade checking on Zelina, but like she really wasn't hurt, so he didn't have to run her. She was standing up. She was fine.
Here's my take on the Street Profits. Chris Wood has checked in, one of our co-hosts.
What's up,
via
Chris
comment. Wood? He said, well, not only that, but the Havoc match that Seth based his gear on was against Eddie. Yes. Lots of hearkening to Eddie.
Very true.
The one thing I'll say about the Profits before we roll on is, okay, remember, think about indie wrestling in the 90s when wrestling was hot, okay? You go to an indie wrestling show. You go to an indie wrestling show in the 90s. Every indie promotion had their Stone Cold type character. Yep. Every indie promotion had their Godfather type character.
Yeah.
It's just the indie promotion. Indie promotions reflect what is going on in the WWE. That's plain and simple. The Street Profits. I think Montez Ford is a good wrestler. I think he's a good athlete. I don't like his personality. Now, what the Street Profits remind me of is it's like an indie level New Day is what they are to me. They're an indie. It's an indie level New Day.
They're reminding me a little bit of D'Lo Brown and the Godfather too when they were together, because you had the Godfather who was this big burly one, and then D'Lo was the high flyer. But see you're right. I think it's that I like Montez Ford's wrestling ability more than I like their characters. Aaron loves Too Cold Scorpio. So do I. So do you.
Right.
that Montez Ford is reminding me of Too Cold Scorpio, the way he's changing direction mid-air and doing these crazy things that nobody else is really doing in the WWE right now.
Mhm.
So that's at least getting them over. Andrade, I feel, is only on TV because Charlotte isn't, and they just canned Ric Flair, so they're trying to give his soon-to-be son-in-law some TV time. But Garza is okay with me. I actually like Angel Garza. He's actually a pretty great wrestler.
I do too.
You know?
I like him too. I was a big fan of his uncle back in the day.
Yep. Hector was a fantastic wrestler. Sad that he passed away at an early age.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I like Zelina Vega. I think she's a great manager. But I will say this, and this has nothing to do with anything she's doing on TV. She's on Twitch too much. She's constantly video gaming. Like the day of SummerSlam, she was on Twitch until 5 p.m. And then she was on Twitch at 12:30 at night because she got home from SummerSlam. It's like, listen,
I
you
bet
have
she
a day job.
I
You
bet
know
she
what I
makes.
mean?
I bet she makes bank doing Twitch.
Oh yeah, she gets like $3,000-4,000 worth of donations a night. I don't know what they do with the money, but like that was my only thing. It's like you're too involved with the video. Like too many wrestlers are involved with video games in this day and age, and I'm tired of it now because like you remember back in the day, Ric Flair wasn't just blowing smoke when he said, and we did 3 shows last night and 2 tonight, but we closed every bar at the end of the night. He meant that. Wrestlers nowadays are like, and we did 2 shows yesterday and 1 today, and then we played Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, really? You know, I like video games too.
They're sitting at the gorilla position. They're sitting at the gorilla position playing Candy Crush while they're getting ready for the match.
Right. It's like, dude.
Chris commented, Montez overacting facial expressions annoy the shit out of me.
Yes, I agree. That is a little overdone.
Yeah.
But like I said, I thought the Street Profits versus Andrade for what it was a decent tag title match. I kind of would have liked Andrade and Garza to win it though, because right now them without titles, they're kind of just floundering. So what do they do now?
Right.
You know.
Sonya and Mandy was a good match, although very, very weird and awkward because of the change of direction of the match. But they had a good match.
They both delivered. They actually both put up some great wrestling ability for 2 women who just a few years ago were on Tough Enough. You know what I mean? And have only been training for the last few years. They changed the direction of the match according to Dave Meltzer, and I know neither one of us really love Dave Meltzer that much. But Sonya's lawyers told her you shouldn't get your head shaved and then go into a courtroom to go ahead and put this guy behind bars because it'll look weird. So they had to change the direction because of that. But I would have liked a non-finish because I hate Sonya Deville not being on TV and not sure what they're going to do with her next.
I wondered when they changed the direction if, based on what happened with Stalker Guy, if Sonya said, "I want to be done. I don't want a while. Yeah, I don't want to do this." You know, I mean, I'm sure it fucks with your psyche, you know, to have something like that happen and say, "Well, maybe I don't want to be a public figure."
Right, or at least let me wait and find out this guy is going to do life in prison before I go back out there and show my face again, because who knows, the state that she lives in might say, "Oh, 3 years and you can get out of prison, sir." And then she knows in 3 years she's got a maniac after her, you know. But for whatever it was, I hope she's safe. I hope she's sound. It was a very ugly thing to have happen. Yes. I think that's the first time I've ever heard of anything like that actually happening.
Yeah, I know. All right, so here's my take real quick on Rollins and Dominic. I thought that Dominic did pretty darn good for his first outing.
Definitely.
The only thing is I thought the match dragged on too long. And
I would have cut it to 13 minutes flat. I wouldn't have given them 20, 25 minutes like they did.
And, and why does WWE... You ever notice WWE, and maybe it's Vince, maybe it's just Vince, but WWE just refuses to give us those feel-good babyface moments anymore. Like, this thing was just, like, the whole thing, I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm just so depressed for this Mysterio family. His dad is handcuffed, the poor kid's getting beaten, crying, and it's like, all right, there's heel heat, and then you're depressing the shit out of me.
Right,
it was
exactly.
I don't know.
I mean,
And maybe the end game is going to be a happy moment. I don't know. But
I can only imagine that the end game has to involve Samoa Joe because he was so involved in the contract.
Yeah, it was awkward. It was awkward that he wasn't. It was awkward that he wasn't somehow involved.
I would like to have seen Joe jump to the ring and stop him from the vicious beating he gave Dominic at the ending. But whatever it is, I'm sure they have a plan. Again, you're right. Dominic Mysterio actually did a great job. He carried the Mysterio name. I don't think he should have beaten Seth Rollins, but I do think that he should have gotten in a couple of more brutal shots to him that maybe made Seth look bad on Monday Night, which I haven't watched Raw yet, but
me neither.
I'm sure Seth is going to walk out looking cleaner than anybody in the world. Like, oh, he didn't even touch me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was kind of miserable seeing Ray scream like that.
Oh yeah, I was just like, God, I'm so depressed watching this.
you put out his father's eye.
These poor people.
Yeah, the only thing that could have made it worse is if Seth would have called deportation and gotten them sent to
right.
They don't have green card. I mean, what more are you going to do to them? You know what I mean? But it was still a good match, though. They actually put on a pretty damn good match.
Yes, like I said, I thought it was a good match for what it was. Could have been shorter, like you said. Maybe keep it in the teens instead of in the 20s. But other than that, I don't have a lot of negative to say about. Now,
ultimately it came down to those Seth Rollins wanted a longer match because Seth is still trying to prove himself that he could work. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people say, well, Seth's always having quick matches and all that. Hi, baby. My granddaughter running around. But I mean, I think 13 to 15 minutes, keep it short. They could have gotten everything in that they got in still in that amount of time. But for what it was, I'd like to see where the story goes from here now.
The match that I proclaimed match of the week this week, I thought Orton and McIntyre was really good. I thought it was I'm watching wrestling to watch a wrestling match. These two had a good wrestling match.
Yes.
McIntyre played a great face. Orton played a great heel. And I saw a lot of people hating on the backslide finish. You know what, guys? This is every once in a while, a pro wrestling match breaks out in this circus, and every match doesn't have to it doesn't have to end with your choreographed finish. It doesn't have to end with a big, if you're watching wrestling and suspending belief to pretend for that 3 hours that what we're watching on TV is real. Once in a while, a guy will just catch a fall.
Look, the idea behind that match was Randy Orton felt that Drew McIntyre was called the chosen one and didn't deliver. On the flip side, McIntyre felt Orton was a silver spoon kid who got everything handed to him. Mm-hmm. So, of course, there had to be a little doubt with the ending. Oh, he won with a backslide. He couldn't claymore him. So, could he really beat him again, which they have a pay-per-view again at the ending of this week. Yep. So, it's probably going to be the main event of that pay-per-view, too. I liked it. I thought it went great. I honestly, I'm happy Orton didn't win because that was what they were calling for, with Orton to win and then give Edge a title shot. I love Edge. I'm happy that he's back. I don't think that feud needs a title, though.
No, and especially if you're trying to build the future of your company, stop. And I'm not calling Orton. I'm not calling Orton and Edge old guys. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
but maybe let those kind of guys have their feud off to the side.
Right.
Doing their own thing, and let the title picture be about guys like McIntyre and Lashley and guys like that you're trying to make the future of your company.
Right. I mean, for the love of God, who said Brock Lesnar needs a world title to be a monster? Mm-hmm. He fought Cena in his first couple of matches back with no title on the line.
Exactly.
And it was still a great match. The first Rock versus Cena match at WrestleMania main evented the damn show with no world title on the line.
And two guys that I will point to. Two guys that I will point to prove that you don't need say that your attraction like your Brock Lesnar or your Edge to have the world championship and can still be effective. I'm going to point to two guys. I have two names: Andre the Giant, and The Undertaker. Now, granted, The Undertaker had title reigns through his career, but if you look at Undertaker's whole career, he probably was only a champion 10% of his career.
Right.
Other than that, he was the attraction.
Right. His first title run lasted 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then he didn't win the title again for 6 years.
Right, WrestleMania 13 against Sid, and
Mm-hmm.
then they started with the move of, okay, give him the title, he's fighting Ed. Give him the title, he's fighting Batista. But that was only because he deserved it. It was
Mhm.
okay after years with the company. Here's a title. But when was the last time the Undertaker had a world title?
Exactly.
So Orton doesn't need a world title to face Edge. That match books itself without a title involved. You know, so McIntyre deserves to be champion right now.
We kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the show, how we were both actually happy to see Roman. And I was the most happy to see Roman because this is the most like 2014, 2013 Roman Reigns I've seen him in
Right.
years.
Right.
It was that badass Roman Reigns, not the cheesy lines written for him by the terrible writer. What was it? Suffering Succotash, all that garbage.
Right.
This is what Roman Reigns should be. Right here, what they did with him. Borderline.
They didn't let him shit on the Fiend and Braun, because those guys went out and had a 20-minute massacre of a match. They actually delivered a good brawl.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fiend becoming world champion again, great. I'm happy to see it. Bray Wyatt deserves to be world champion. But then people are like, well, Roman came out and destroyed them. Yeah, but they just had a 20-minute match.
Yeah.
So, of course, anyone would get destroyed after that. And what I liked about it was seeing Roman Reigns look at the camera and go, you wouldn't be a monster if I wasn't, it didn't make you. If I didn't leave, you wouldn't be a monster. You took my spot.
Right.
And he walked up to Bray Wyatt and he said, you're just a freak in a mask. Without that mask, you're still that same guy that they didn't want to put over. He was actually shooting, or,
whatever he
work shoot.
Yeah, right.
And it made sense because he should be pissed off. For the last 5 months, I've been off TV at home, and you guys been running like it's a field day because I ain't here.
Right.
Come back, I'll claim my spot.
So overall, I gave SummerSlam a good grade. I thought it was a good show, and I really liked the Thunderdome. I liked the atmosphere being back.
I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I'll be honest with you.
That's about what I had it down for too.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it was what it needed to be for a SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of things I wanted to talk about now. Overall, for the weekend, for me, the best show was TakeOver.
Without a doubt.
The two things I wanted to get your thoughts on TakeOver were, first of all, agree or disagree, Pat McAfee probably had the best performance of someone coming in from outside the business that I've ever seen.
He surprised me. He actually took some badass bumps and delivered some pretty brutal looking shots.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've read, and this is not a but as a minus towards him.
Mm-hmm.
I read that it was Adam Cole that orchestrated that entire match. So
right, and
big ups to Cole.
McAfee trained with Rip Rogers,
right.
Which, I mean, what a better hand, what a better worker to be able to train with. But I've always said, like, I've always kind of balked at people that shit on Lawrence Taylor from WrestleMania 11, because I think overall Lawrence Taylor had a good match with Bam Bam.
For a first time and only one match,
yeah. But I think McAfee exceeded that.
He exceeded Lawrence Taylor. He exceeded Steve Mongo McMichaels. He exceeded
Mr.
Gronk
T.
recently. He exceeded Mr. T. He might have even exceeded Dominic a bit.
Yeah.
Dominic was actually trained by his dad and luchadors. But yeah, no, the match was what it needed to be.
Yes.
It was, and Adam Cole winning. I thought they might try to pull a fast one and let McAfee win. But I'm like, there's no way that Triple H lets Cole get shit on like that. Cole has been his boy for the last 2 years.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. If Adam Cole would have been on the main roster and Vince was booking that, McAfee probably would have went over.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But yeah, they had a good
match.
For me to say that a football guy in his first match ever was in a match that I've given 4 out of 5 stars, I think is a compliment. And
Definitely.
Like I said, I think he did good. He never annoyed me during the build-up. He actually cuts a pretty good wrestling promo.
When he delivered that kick to Cole, when they were holding Cole, and
that was fantastic.
I was like, wow, this guy just actually got over with me because that kick looked devastating.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot he was a punter. So when
And
he
like-
delivered that kick,
yeah.
it was like, damn.
And
You
to what
know?
you said also, he has benefited from working with the best in the business
Yeah.
in this feud.
You
So,
know?
and
yeah,
then
they were perfect for each other. That match was too good.
the other thing I wanted to address from Takeover was I was not, surprisingly, a fan of the main event. Not that it was bad,
Right.
but it's probably, to my mind, my least favorite Keith Lee match I've seen.
Well,
And I wasn't happy. I didn't like the finish. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself as far as out of nowhere finishes because what I just said about Drew and Orton.
it looked
But-
a little botched.
Yeah, that and the way those two characters were built up,
Right.
I expected something a little more dramatic.
Well, I kind of saw them as Godzilla and King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they were building them up. Only, Cross was being, showed as the devil in so many ways.
Right.
But they were two monsters who were about to go at it. And then, okay, they had a good match. They went back and forth. But I think Keith Lee got in a lot of great offense. And I think Cross was mostly punching and kicking because he is a Sambo type of wrestler. He
Right.
likes to, incorporate jiu-jitsu. I like Cross. I'm a big Killer Cross fan. When he was in MLW, when he was in Japan, when he was in Lucha Underground. I've followed his career for the last 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy he's the champion because I think NXT needed a devastating heel champion now because Adam Cole was a devious champion.
Right.
You
Adam Cole was a Shawn Michaels or a Ric Flair.
Right. He had
kind of
3
champion.
guys around him who were protecting him, but he also delivered great matches. Keith Lee was a good, decent champion face. And then I don't remember who was champion before Cole. I think it was Gargano, who was kind of like the schmuck that fell into it. But
Yeah.
I like Gargano. He's okay. But now we have this devious monster who might hold on to this title for 6 months to a year because who the hell's going to beat him?
Right.
But the ending with them coming off the top rope, I still don't know what that finisher was.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It looked botched.
Yeah, I have no idea what it was supposed to be. But I guess we found out last night what why the title changed because apparently Vince has decided he wants Keith
Right.
Lee in his roster. So we'll see how that goes.
Right,
I expect Vince to treat Keith Lee well because Keith Lee's Vince's kind of guy,
Right.
look
And I think
wise, and
I think they're going to groom him on Raw for a little bit, and then there's supposed to be a draft coming up in the next few months. I expect him to move to SmackDown and immediately be put into a feud with Roman after what happened at Survivor Series.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Which
I
is
would
perfect.
I would love to see a Lee Lesnar match.
Yes, I agree with that.
I think that would be awesome.
I would hate it.
Especially based on what happened in the Rumble match this year. That kind of whet my appetite for it, wanting to see it.
I would hate to see him come in and then next week join the Hurt Business. Just because, and I'm not trying to sound racist or stereotypical, but just like, oh, well, he's a big black guy. Put him with Bobby Lashley and MVP. No.
Right.
We don't need that. Let him be what he's been. He's been on his own since he got there. You know what I mean? Let him be the monster he's supposed to be. He could be a face or a heel. We've seen that.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to see him on the main roster, and I'm ready to see him fight top-notch talent and actually get put over.
It will be interesting to watch, but like I said, I think he'll get good treatment.
I agree. My only thing I didn't like about NXT, the women's tag match was actually great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart, that was on actual NXT TV. That match was great.
Yes.
The women's title match, on the other hand, Io Shirai is one of my favorite women.
Mm-hmm.
I think she has got a great persona, and I think she will do great in either roster that she stays on, NXT or the main roster. I'm not a big fan of Dakota Kai. And I think that she's very sloppy and does not land moves. And the other wrestler has to make believe like she got hit, and it just looks botchy.
Right.
I don't think Dakota Kai should have been the one challenging. Raquel Diaz could have challenged, the big girl that's with her.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could have done Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai with both, all those women interfering and causing a massive fight. But the women's match was the only letdown for me at TakeOver.
I agree. So AEW Saturday night on TNT. Um, the AEW show. I'm sorry. Takeover was 9 out of 10 for me. By the way, forgot.
I would have given it the same because the only problem I had was the women's match, and it was still good. It wasn't horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me as well.
AEW. I know you. Just judging by your comments and such that I've seen, I'm pretty sure you really enjoyed this show.
Well, no.
No. Well, maybe I'm thinking of you commenting on a different show. Then I thought
no. I think AEW is a must-watch, but if you get to it like 4th or 5th, like if you haven't watched anything yet this week, and you're waiting for like Friday night, and you're gonna go back and watch everything, definitely watch Takeover, watch NXT, watch Impact, watch SummerSlam, and then if you feel like turning on AEW and just skimming through a majority of it, I did something I have not done in quite a while. Like 3 months, actually. I watched AEW Dark a couple days ago. I don't understand why Lance Archer is on AEW Dark with Jake the Snake Roberts. He should be on Dynamite. I don't understand why so many young talents are not getting the chance on Dynamite because they actually are great in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a story for another day. Dynamite was good. I would give it a solid 5 out of 10, though.
I had it as 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a passing grade.
Because it was the show this week to me that although it had highlights, it had the most lowlights.
Right. The main thing that I loved about the show, and I know it was a squash match, but the ending main event with Brody Lee destroying Cody Rhodes and the entire Nightmare family.
And that's what I was going to say. My note, my note on this is they finally used Brody Lee the way they should use Brody Lee.
Yes.
Now just get rid of the fucking Dark Order or let him, because long as I don't like the Dark Order, and I don't like the fact that they've made him do this boring bearded guy who does a bad Vince McMahon gimmick thing.
He's Vince McMahon. He's supposed to be Vince McMahon, right?
Yeah, Brody Lee should be Bruiser Brody. He should be that guy, big guy that just rips through everybody. And this was the best that I've seen them use him since he got there.
I'm sure you listened to the commentary during the match, and Taz of all people said, Cody didn't get any offense. And I actually went, fucking right. That was not a Cody Rhodes match. He didn't do one damn thing. He threw like 4 punches, and then Brody Lee just exploded on him.
Yeah.
And it was what it needed to be, though, because, look, I know what they're planning here. It makes sense. Think of it. This is the Rocky storyline. When Rocky fought Mr. T. Mm-hmm. Mr. T came out and in 2 rounds destroyed Rocky Balboa. Adrian was in the crowd and freaked out. Mickey had a heart attack and fell down. Well, Arn Anderson was on the floor after getting mugged by them.
Right.
And Rocky was just there, being stretchered out. So this is the Rocky Balboa storyline. My only fear is that in order to get to the end game where Cody is the Rocky Balboa, you have to kill Brody Lee in order to do it. And I would hate for that to happen.
And if done properly, if you give Brody, first of all, and this is one of the problems with modern sports entertainment is they never let anything simmer. Right. You just did this. They just did this on Saturday night. I promise you, folks, you stay tuned, because if Cody Rhodes is back within less than 30 days, I'm going to shit on this angle. Because he needs to be gone for 2 months, at least 2 months.
Well, this is what I was actually thinking, Nate, since I watched it. Because, again, it's supposed to be the Rocky storyline. Mm-hmm. How did they do that in Rocky Part 3? Well, he went and found himself. And then all of a sudden, Apollo Creed comes and finds him and says, hey, what are you doing? I don't think there needs to be an Apollo Creed here, obviously. There doesn't need to be anybody.
I mean, if they could get their hands on Apollo Crews, how great would that be?
Right.
Or no, if they could get their hands on Xavier, he could be Consequences Creed again.
Or if they could raise Carl Weathers, then, by all means, go ahead and do it. But I think they need to give it a solid 2 or 3 weeks, then let Cody come out. Not the fight,
No.
Let him do
And that's
it,
what I
let
meant.
him
I'm
cut a
sorry.
promo. Yeah.
Don't get me twisted. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on
No.
TV for the next month, but he shouldn't get in the ring for 2 months.
Let him cut a promo, or let him cut a promo via satellite from his home
Mm-hmm.
and say, my wife is freaked out. I'm injured. Arn is injured. The Nightmare Family is going to take a little break away from AEW. But I promise we'll be back eventually.
Right.
Don't give a time frame. Don't tell me when you're going to come back. Let's forget Cody even existed for a few months. Like you said, 2-3 solid months. Cody's an executive vice president. Let him do that job now.
Yeah.
Let him book the show. His dad was a booker for years. Let him book AEW. And then after Brody Lee has gone through everybody and they minimize the Dark Order slightly, because I agree, there is no reason for there to be 17 members of that group. It needs to be that girl that's with them, that fat guy in the mask, Evil Uno, and like 2 or 3 little members that just kind of like flock around when he needs them around him. Throw every one of those other guys on AEW Dark. Let them fight on that show.
Yeah.
Let Brody Lee destroy the roster of all these guys that Cody beat and then some.
Mm-hmm.
And then let Cody walk back out. No suit, no tie, no Rolex, no weight belt, no fanciness.
I'm here for a fucking fight. Yes.
Right. I'm here. I'm tired of this bullshit. And let him go at it. He don't even have to win the title back on his first try. Let them have a series of matches.
I think another. I don't know we're going off into fantasy booking here, but I think another cool aspect to this could be we're talking about this, and you got my wheels turning. How cool would it be if in the meantime, while Cody's gone, what if Dustin steps up to Brody and Brody does something dastardly to Dustin? Now now not only is he injured Cody, but he's injured his brother and blah blah.
Right.
I mean, you could do so much with this.
The problem Dustin again is retire if he wants.
The problem again is, do I trust AEW to have the booking patience to do this? Because they shot a lot of shit on that show.
I agree, but what I'm trusting in is that last name. Their last name is Rhodes.
Yeah.
And if Dusty knew how to do something, it was slow booking. Nikita doesn't have to beat Flair for the world title, but he could have 3 title matches and win them all by DQ.
Right.
And then when we finally get this to Starrcade, Flair beats Nikita.
Yeah.
Or,
fucks him over.
Sting don't got it. Right. Sting don't got to beat Flair at the first Clash of the Champions. He could do it 3 years later at the next Super Bowl.
Exactly.
It's slow booking, and I'm hoping they've learned that from their father.
Thunder Rosa, I'm excited that she's there.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Thunder Rosa. Well, you guys know, if you watched or listened to the show before the whole pandemic hit, I was a big fan of the NWA at that time. That was my favorite show, my favorite wrestling show. So I'm excited she's going to be there.
You and I would message each other every Wednesday night. Hey, did you watch NWA yet? Yeah. Just so we could talk about it.
That doesn't happen with Raw, folks. By the way,
no. We ask each other, is it worth watching? Not really. Just fast forward through everything.
Right.
But I like that she's got the NWA title with her too.
Yes.
That means there's a possibility of a little crossover there that I kind of want.
Which is really good for the NWA right now, because that keeps them relevant in a time where they can't run shows or probably don't have the capacity to do such. It keeps it relevant, so we know it's not going to die. When
apparently their studio is on lockdown, they can't use where they usually use it, where they usually wrestle at, and Billy Corgan refuses to try to look for somewhere else because he feels it's unfair. Which I don't blame him. He's smart.
I don't like Sammy Guevara, and Matt Hardy jumped the shark with me 15 years ago. So I'm not really interested in this.
I'm tired of it. Is he broken? Is he not? Is he V1?
Yeah.
Is he? It's like you got too many gimmicks going on, Matt. Pick one.
I mean, the best Matt Hardy was V1. That was my favorite Matt Hardy. That 2003, 2004 Matt Hardy. Okay, I thought, I want to hear your opinion on this, because I honestly, and I know you said, I really did like the Brody Lee Cody thing. I thought that was good. My favorite segment of AEW this week, because I like watching heels get heat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That segment to me with Darby Allin Ricky Starks, Taz, and Brian Cage was the segment of the week.
It finally made me like Taz for a reason other than it's just Taz.
Mm-hmm.
He actually cut a good promo on Darby. And I liked Ricky Starks when he was in NWA. I didn't understand his character, what Stroke Daddy meant, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at least now they're giving him something in AEW. Didn't know what show we were talking about. And yeah, I think it was perfect. They're building something there.
Okay, obviously I didn't watch Dark Order and Bucks and the Omega because I don't have to watch Bucks or the Omega anymore.
Right.
The
it
Bucks
was okay though. What I don't like is they're trying to make you think that Kenny Omega is about to turn heel. When in all truth and honesty, I think that it's going to be Hangman Page that turns heel and joins FTR and Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard. So
Kenny Omega would be the most ineffective heel.
Well, no, he was actually a good heel in New Japan before, they were the Elite, when they were just Bullet Club. And then he started to get over with being the Elite, and it was just like, okay, I guess I'm a face now. I don't mind him as a heel. He's an effective heel. He actually is a shit-eating grin heel, you know what I mean? But
he's always a heel to me.
Yeah, I know that. But I just feel like you're teasing it being Kenny that's going to turn. Then Hangman's going to turn. So you want me to feel sorry for Kenny, and I don't want to feel sorry for Kenny. I just want to see Kenny wrestle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Young Bucks need to be in the title picture rather than being with the Dark Order. If they're not going to help Cody. The entire Dark Order is beating the shit out of Cody. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega just had a match with the Dark Order. Why didn't the Elite come out to save Cody? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on there? So the one segment that I question, I happen to love Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
I think he cuts some of the best promos I've ever seen.
I wish you could see my notes here because there are.
The next one was Eddie Kingston.
The Kingston segment has like 26 question marks after it.
Right, like I understood where he was coming. He's trying to put another heel group together. Great,
just what we need in AEW. More factions.
We don't need more factions. It's WWF during Survivor Series Gang Warfare all over again.
Yeah,
but like. He didn't cut a promo this week. He just kept repeating himself.
Yeah.
Like, Papa, come here, Papa. I used to ride with you, and I've known you for... And I'm like, listen, Eddie, we get
You're a great lucha libre.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we get it. You're the guy that was in TNA with LAX, and you're the guy that was in the NWA. Be the guy that was in the NWA that actually cut really good promos and then delivered an ass whipping. You don't need to be doing this bullshit promo.
Yeah, like the promo. I mean, he cut a really good promo that first week out when he had the match with Cody. That's the Eddie Kingston I want to see.
Right.
Mimosa Mayhem, give me a break.
Jesus, what the hell is that?
What is wrong with Chris Jericho? Like, what?
Do you remember the promo he cut like 4 weeks into AEW? Someone was chanting about Jake Hager, saying, Jack Swagger, we the people. And he looked dead into the camera and he said, that was a stupid idea from stupid creative on a stupid company. And now you give us Mimosa Mayhem. And
I keep saying this. I say it all the time when we talk about the modern product. With AEW, my thing about AEW fans, and I'm not one of those guys that shits on them. Everybody likes their own thing. I like AEW too.
Right.
But with AEW, I have what's called the WWE test.
Right.
And the WWE test is if they put this segment on Raw instead of Dynamite, would the AEW fans shit on it?
Well, they did.
They would shit all over this.
Well, they did. I like this match a little more when it was called the Arkansas Hog Pen match. Because technically that's what it is.
Or when it was Tori and Stacy and Pudding.
Right. I liked it more then, Nate. I liked it more then. I'll even handle Stephanie and Vicky Guerrero in a mud match. That was okay too. But I get it. He's Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed. I actually like Orange Cassidy. And I am a Chris Jericho fan. So he's a little bit of the bubbly.
Me too.
Did we have to marry the champagne and the orange juice together to make mimosas? I mean,
Yeah, I've been a huge Jericho mark since he was in the Thrill Seekers with Lance Storm and Smoky Mountain. I have always been a Jericho guy, but this year, it's like, I don't know. To me, Jericho almost comes off as I don't think he gives a shit anymore.
No,
I think he's just taking his checks from Tony Khan.
And
He's in his band. He probably wants to be in a reality TV show or something.
Right.
I don't think Jericho cares about wrestling anymore. And if that's the case, that's fine. I'm all for someone doing what they do. But to me, I hate to say this, but it's much like when Flair was in TNA. I think right now Jericho is shitting on his own legacy.
Well, here's my problem. AEW thought that they were catching lightning in a bottle with Jericho joining AEW and not re-signing with the WWF. And they thought it was going to be like Hulk Hogan joining WCW.
Right.
And that, let's put the world title on him immediately. We didn't need him as world champion as the first world champion. I love Chris Jericho. I will say that some of the best things I've seen in wrestling was because of Chris Jericho. But you can't sit there and write a tweet that says Vince McMahon is a stupid idiot and the WWE doesn't know what their fans want. And then give me Mimosa Mayhem, and you wear the same jacket that got covered in orange juice for 4 weeks. And, you had one good match with Matt Hardy that should have been a whole feud for you. Why not put the two old-time veterans together and let them feud for a couple months?
Exactly.
But instead, you gave him to Sammy Guevara. I hate Sammy Guevara.
I really do too. I really do. I hate him and his big face, and he's got like this. He's annoying, and he's. I don't know. I agree with you.
Did you like the 1, 2, 3 Kid?
Yes.
Okay, I did too. I think that I actually liked him as the Lightning Kid in GWF.
Same.
I'm not saying anything wrong against Sean Waltman, but when he joined the NWO as 6, he was annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of look at Sammy Guevara as right now. You're the annoying as fuck guy in the group. Yeah, you put on a decent match every now and then with somebody who's willing to lead you to a decent match, but you're really annoying. This had nothing to do with his Sasha Banks comment. That was 4 years ago. I don't care what he said then. I don't fault him for that. He was a young, dumb kid. But you're on national television holding up cue cards that mean nothing because you decided during the picture-in-picture, I want to be the funny guy that talks to the guys at home. You know what I mean? And then,
and he does. And he just doesn't pull it off well. And
he almost killed Matt Hardy, and they made.
That was that was one of the most unprofessional, careless things I've ever seen in my life on wrestling.
And their only argument was he got caught in the heat of the moment and grabbed the wrong chair. No, he's a dumb kid that nobody told him where the right chair was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And here's the thing. Eye for an eye match a month earlier, you made fun of it. You almost put Matt Hardy's eye out.
Literally.
I can't stand Rebby Sky, Matt Hardy's wife, but when she released the statement, somebody asked, why did everybody get mad at Sammy Guevara for throwing a chair at Matt Hardy? Her tweet back was, because he's a stupid idiot. And I actually went, good for her. She's not wrong right now.
Right. So to round out... Oh, sorry.
No, I could do without... When he was off TV for that couple weeks, I was perfectly fine with him being gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was good with it. AEW for me, though, like I said, solid 5, passing grade.
Yeah, I thought it was a 6. Now, to round out the hour here, did you watch Impact? Did you watch Emergence? Okay.
Yes, I did.
So I actually
impressing the shit out of me.
Oh, it's been fun to watch Impact. Impact is really good.
Since the 2 weeks before their last pay-per-view, what was their last payper-view? Slammiversary?
Slammiversary.
They booked everybody coming in or returning perfectly. EC3, the Good Brothers, Eric Young, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have not had anything to fault with what they've done. The Rich Swann segment where he said he was retiring, I kind of knew Eric Young was going to attack him.
Right, but it was still well done. It was still well done. It was still a good old school wrestling angle.
Definitely, but I kind of called. I was like, Eric Young's about to come out. I know it. It's got to happen. You know what I mean? But even Wrestle House has been somewhat funny.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if you. I don't watch Wrestle House.
Okay.
When I watch Impact, I fast forward. Aaron keeps telling me, and Aaron keeps telling me, no, you should watch Wrestle House. It's not as stupid as some of the. And I understand. but I don't watch it because I like Impact right now, and I don't want to be mad at it. So to be honest, I don't watch Wrestle House. I fast forward through those segments.
There are a couple of storylines going on inside of Wrestle House, though, that have to do with the main product of the show. So if you can just browse it, I would recommend it. But the action has been top to bottom. I didn't like that kid Ace Austin before the pay-per-view, and then he grew on me because of what he did during that Fatal 5-Way they had. And now his actions with the Good Brothers, he's actually sold me on him being a decent enough talent.
Yes, and that was a good match, and I think him and Fulton have a
great chemistry.
Yeah, well, and I'm not even. Don't get me wrong, people. I'm not comparing them in any way.
I know what you're about to say, though.
They have a Shawn Michaels Diesel chemistry.
Yes.
That works for them, and I think it's a good pairing. And they had a good match with the Good Brothers. Definitely. The only thing on Emergence, I am not. Chris and I talked about this before. I am not a fan of this Chris Bay guy. He comes off very indie to me. He comes off very indie to me.
No, he is. I watched this kid on the indies twice. He came to We Are Wrestle Pro twice. I went to both shows in a small setting, which right now they have no fans, so I guess it's easy to say. Right. But in a small setting like a high school arena, you know what I mean? Or the Impact Zone, which only holds like 400 or 500 people. He's actually pretty decent for me. But right now, with no fans and him not getting any reaction, it's kind of hard to read him for what he is.
Right.
I, however, did not like them giving Ranjan Singh, or whatever that guy's name is, the X Division title.
Rohit Raju, is that it?
Yeah. So
Rohit Raju.
Those guys are like creator wrestlers on the WWE 2K video game, and like you left the game on computer run, and he won the title. It's like you had Chris Bay, who was actually a decent champion, and you had two other guys in that match, Falaba and TJP, who are over with the crowd as far as at home viewers. Why wouldn't you put the title on one of them? Why did that guy need the title right now?
Right.
So, but Impact for me, I'd give it a solid 7.5 even.
Yeah, that's actually right where I had it at too, was a 7. I'm intrigued by the thing with Moose and EC3.
Yes.
What I'm wondering is, because EC3 is talking about pretty much essentially destroying his past.
Right.
So my thing is his end game, I want to get the Impact title from Moose so that I can like melt it or something, so that I can get rid of it,
Well, yeah, I don't know where they're going because he actually just debuted at the next set of tapings for Ring of Honor.
Really?
And yeah, I haven't read the results to see what's going on.
Those guys are still in business.
They just started running again last week, and after this week's Impact, he debuted in Ring of Honor. I'm wondering if when he says destroy past, he means himself, because he's going after Moose. Moose was in Ring of Honor before this. But the storyline with him, his whole like demeanor now, and the Good Brothers, I don't know if you've ever listened to the words of their theme song. These guys are really pissed at what happened in the WWE.
Yeah.
And it's not just being fired because of COVID. They're pissed about the way they were booked, and they rightfully so.
Yes.
The Good Brothers song goes, "I sold my soul," and then something about, and now I'm rich, but I'm not happy. They're absolutely right. I made 6-figure salaries, but damn, if I didn't get shit on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But yeah, EC3 and Moose, I'm really anxious to see where they go. The Impact, the TNA title is a joke title. It's kind of like the FTW title is right now, but it's Moose saying you felt I wasn't good enough to be your world champion, so I brought back the title of a company you hate. I will say this though, to get off topic of TNA, of Impact slightly. The entire roster kind of broke kayfabe on the company a little bit. There were reports about a month ago that Tessa Blanchard was holding the Impact World title hostage and wanted them to pay her $150,000 for dates that she missed during COVID, and she'd return the title. And then something about they threatened legal suit because she didn't perform and she wasn't there and whatever.
Right.
So she sent back the title and they gave her an undisclosed amount of what the downside guarantee of her contract was. That's fine and well. Her wedding was this weekend. And the entire roster was there. I mean, Moose and Tommy Dreamer and Taya Valkyrie's her best friend, and John
Right.
Morrison is friends with her soon-to-be her husband Daga. But it's like, this bitch just held up your company for $150,000. You really want to go party and celebrate her marriage that easily?
Mazel tov.
Yeah, like nobody. You look back at the Ultimate Warrior when he held up Vince for money. Nobody wanted to hang out with the Ultimate Warrior after that.
Mhm.
And that was the Ultimate Warrior who deserved respect to a certain extent. So, in my opinion, Tessa Blanchard, if she does get hired by the WWE, it should be with a grain of salt and maybe on a contract of, if you fuck up, we're firing your ass.
Yeah.
With no ifs, ands, or buts, because she's got a really bad past with companies.
Mhm.
And she's a really shitty person.
She is very much like, she is honestly, she is, and I know that he is revered as a wrestler and as a heel, and I think as a performer he was great as well, but she is definitely her father's daughter.
Which is weird.
Tully was an asshole too, Tully
No, I
was a
agree.
dick.
His whole story with the WWF, and they finally found out he was on drugs, so they released him, but they didn't release him and whatever. But here's the funny part, though. Yes, it's Tully Blanchard's daughter, but a majority of her life, she was raised by one of the most greatest men in the wrestling business, Magnum TA.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he rub off on her a little bit, too?
Right.
That guy got into a motorcycle accident and still showed up in a wheelchair weeks later to say, I'm sorry.
Right.
And it wasn't his fault. He's like, I'm sorry I got paralyzed and I can't wrestle in front of you people. What? You know what I mean? It's like, how did you I understand. Yes, Tully is a bastard and can be very manipulative, but he gave a lot back to the wrestling business, so we love him and we respect him. She hasn't given anything back to the business yet.
No.
You can't not have paid your dues and think you're the best thing in the world. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Oh no, I totally agree with you, and I think she's overrated anyway. So
well, I mean, she wrestled a couple good matches against Sami Callihan, but Sami Callihan is one of the better independent wrestlers in the world, and so that's again his doing. But I just think Impact dropped the ball by saying, "Hey, look, Sammy, we're going to give you the title, but you're losing it to Tessa."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't know COVID was coming, but immediately when they realized they couldn't do anything, and before she went off to Mexico, they were supposed to say, "Hey, we need our title back real quick."
Right.
We're going to put it back on Sammy, and then we'll put it back on you once COVID's over. But whatever. That's a story for another day. All in all, though, Nate, for the week's word of wrestling, it was not a bad week.
I thought, and that's why I wanted to do the show, because, like I said, lots of big events and happenings, and it was not a bad week to be a sports entertainment fan this week.
Not one bit.
So, Archie, I want to thank you for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
We'll sign off. Those of you that participated, thank you. Those of you that watched, thank you. And we will, as always, I will post up the show again so that people that have not seen or were not here live can watch.
And make sure you guys get your tickets. Mick Foley this week in the Asylum Nerd Closet. We Can't Wrestle World Championship Customs in the Virtual Asylum.
Yes.
You're not going to want to miss Mick Foley. The stories this guy tells is amazing.
Mick Foley.
It's Mick Foley week.
Can we say, just can we say, drop some names: David Gold, Rocky Turner, Nick Francis,
Mike Zecca.
Yes.
They are, those four men, especially David Gold and Rocky Turner, have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this.
Yes.
And Nick Francis and Mike Zecca have carried a big load when it comes to the shipping and the taking payments and things and getting everything just so for this talent that we have coming in. Those four men, I applaud them. I try to do my best to help when I can.
Me too.
But I have to say, David Gold, Nick, Rocky have it down to a science, and I love it.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job.
And you can call this a work or you can call this a shoot. Kind of odd to me that everybody else is now doing virtual meet and greets after we were the originators.
I thought the same thing. I was like,
You know. But that's okay. You know,
It's all right.
On the
I mean,
Asylum shirt, often imitated, never duplicated.
absolutely. Well, Archie, my brother, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you as well.
And to all our viewers and listeners, thank you for supporting the Weekend. Oh, wait. But wait, there's more.
Oh.
Coming up later probably this weekend, I am going to be announcing we're going to have all right, I talk about it on the show all the time. Our podcast has great listenership.
Yes, it does.
Our Facebook page, like our general Facebook page, has tons of likes.
Yep.
People follow the page, they follow the podcast, but for some reason, they're just not getting in the group and getting into this interactive part of the group. So, I will have to check and see. I cannot remember. I think we're at like 200 some members. We're going to try to strive in the month of September for 500 members.
Okay. I was going to say 3, but I'll take 5.
That's why I'm giving it the whole month. I'm going to give it the whole month. Let's strive for 5. And if we can get to 500 members by the end of September, I'm going to give some shit away.
Well,
I'm not going to tell you what yet. I'm not going to tell you what yet. It's still coming. But that's, we're hitting numbers for the podcast. The podcast is doing well. Well enough where this week, folks, my podcasts are doing well enough where this week or last week, my wife and I decided to start making this a business and not a hobby. So things are looking up. But I want the Facebook group to grow because it's the most interactive thing we have.
Exactly.
With a podcast, it's not like a radio show where you can go live and have people call in. You're recording it. You're not really interacting with your listeners. The Facebook page, I see comments and stuff on there, but it's not. Archie, you're a Facebooker like me.
Yep.
The most interactive we can be with our listeners is through this group.
Yes,
and
sir.
that's why I want to build the group so that we can have you guys as part of the show more.
We have sister pages like the Nerd Closet that has 1,000 members.
Mm-hmm.
The World Championship Customs that has 950, and the Asylum which just hit 3,800 members.
Yeah.
And a lot of those members are in the We Can't Wrestle podcast Facebook group, but we're only at 200. So those people need to start adding those people from the other groups.
Yes.
And if you got, I'm going to tell you guys now, and I said this during the podcast a couple of weeks ago, me and Nate were talking about it. We don't just want to give free stuff to our buddies that are members of the group.
Exactly.
That's what it is right now. It's just our buddies. We want to give it to our members, to our fans, to our friends. And so that they tell other people, like, dude, you'll never believe what Nate Maxson sent me. Or, dude, Archie Mitchell sent me a custom because I was the 800 member. Or, Christopher Wood sent me a pop because, I was the 250 person to say, hey. So get interacting, add members, and Nate might give something away. I guarantee you if Nate gives something away, I'm going to give something away.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron loves giving stuff away.
Yes,
so Aaron
he does.
will probably jump in. And I know Kyle and Chris will say, well, the hell with it. What could we do, too?
Mm-hmm.
We're always down. And David Gold is actually an admin here, too. So if you ask Goldie and he sees this is growing, Goldie will be involved, too. So
absolutely.
The more you add people, the more we want to give away and the more we want to be interacting with you guys. So just keep adding members.
Absolutely. Well, again, I know I got us off to do another 10 minutes there.
No, not a problem. Oh, I'll add an extra minute. My birthday is September 19th. If we hit 300 members by the 19th of September, I will do a free giveaway for a custom of your choice.
There you go.
And Brian McGraw can attest because he was a part of one of those giveaways, and he got a Kevin Nash custom made the same week Kevin Nash was in the virtual asylum. So
that's hot shit, pal. All right.
So.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you around coming up on this week's edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, which I believe we'll be recording Friday night. We have to review an episode of Thunder from 2000. So May 3rd, 2000.
Couldn't it have been like 97 or 98? I mean, did it have to be 2000?
Aaron's fault.
It is. It really is. Aaron, you dropped the ball this week.
Legit Aaron's fault. All right. But anyway, stay tuned for more here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, the show, the page, the group. Archie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Listeners and viewers, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you all